Okay, folks, so we obviously have some new information here on the potential Switch Mini coming this year, or Switch Mini 2, Mini Switch 2. This is interesting. So, what we have here is a new accessory maker company that has made an accessory for the Nintendo Switch Mini. It is just a rubber, case to go over your Switch. Nothing new. We see these all the time on the current model. I actually use a Switch skin on mine, but it's kind of similar to that. But it's a cheap rubber skin that you could just apply or not apply. And as you see, it's made by Big Ben. They're calling it a silicone glove. And down here, in this little fine print here, if we zoom in a bit here, which that actually just kind of made it smaller. So it says Mini Switch 2. Now, what's interesting here is this could be the Switch Mini 2. I'm trying to understand the branding here. Assuming that brand at the bottom is official, this could literally be like a Switch 2, but a miniaturized version of it. That is what I get out of that potential branding of calling it a Mini Switch 2, because it would be the second Switch, so a new generation Nintendo Switch, but a miniature version of it. Now, I know that's probably wishful thinking on many people's parts, that there's a new generation Switch coming and that there's a miniaturized version of it. I think that's probably a bit of a stretch as well. I honestly think this is just a placeholder. After all, packaging like this can be replaced. But according to Nintendo Life here, the photo leak, which comes from WinFuture, the images of the Switch Mini silicone sleeve come from accessory designer, game publisher Big Ben. They are also a game publisher. That's important to note, because they might have more access than your typical accessory manufacturer. According to the source, Mini Switch 2 is written on the red label, which it is. The image below is supposedly a render illustrating what Nintendo's revised hardware would look like in the silicone case. So this is a render of what this company has, or what they have been told, or what they have seen firsthand of what the new Switch is. Now, important things to note about this render is everything is flat. These are all flat. So like these buttons here would be raised up. So with this button, the plus button, this button, they'd all be raised up a little bit. This, basically looks like a repeat of this design. So maybe it means no D-pad, or maybe there is a D-pad there and they just didn't really render it correctly. Who knows? But right now, that current design there looks like it's a cross pattern here, or not the cross pattern. I guess the button D-pad, which neither here nor there for me personally, but I can see why some people might not be into that. And these controllers here, if you actually look closely on your Switch, if you have one, you'll notice the design with like the little notches here is identical to the top design of these joysticks, suggesting that they're the same type of joysticks, but it's just a render, so they're just using probably the normal Switch as a reference point. You see like these little marks on the top here, like this was the game card slot on the normal Switch. Then over here, like the volume and power rocker, which could be what this is. This area is where the vent is on the normal Switch. So, again, this could just be a cross between the normal Switch and that. But what is interesting, what you see different between this and that is the bezels. Look at how big this screen looks compared to the thin bezels. The bezels on that are about half, if not a little bit less than half, of what's on the original Switch. So it makes the screen look massive. In reality, I think this screen here, I think what you are seeing here, if this is an actual render or a mock-up render of something they actually have or have seen on hand, this screen here, to me, is basically the same size as this screen. I know it's hard to tell, like you can hold them next to each other. The pictures don't really line up perfectly, but I think it's the same size, and what they did is they shrunk it down. So they brought the controllers in, so they basically got rid of this bezel entirely, so the controllers have come in, and then it's also shrunk down a little bit, like this, shrunk down a little bit, this. So then you got rid of like half the bezel here, got rid of half the bezel down here, and you end up with a smaller Switch Mini. So there you go. I think that is exactly what this render is showing. And also the bezel-less design, I think, is very appealing for some people. Obviously, most devices, like our phones, stuff like that, have like bezel-less designs or very close to bezel-less designs. This isn't even bezel-less per se, but it's much more modern looking than the really thick bezel that's currently on the Nintendo Switch that you normally only see on maybe like Leapfrog tablets or something like that is designed for children. So I think that this is a very good design choice. If like the biggest thing on the Switch Mini I want to see is a smaller bezel. I know that could make it less durable, but I'm guessing it's still going to be a plastic screen. For those who don't know, this screen on here, this is plastic. Like you tap it, it's plastic. It's not glass. So it's a plastic screen, which is harder to, it's almost impossible to shatter because plastic doesn't shatter. But it does scratch easily. I think for a Switch Mini, for durability purposes, it would still be a plastic front screen. So if you want to put a glass screen protector on there and give it a feel of a phone, you can. A lot of people do that. I've done that in the past. The screen protector I have on my Switch right now is not that. It's actually just a cheap film one, which will prevent scratches, to be fair. So that's really all I care about. And then because I was putting on this Switch skin, I didn't really want to go with a thicker glass because then it makes it a little bit harder to slide in and out of the dock. But yeah, what's interesting too, we've seen in prior designs that the USB-C port was still on the bottom, so that that's not shown in this render. But I don't know. I mean, this is just at this point it's all speculation, and this kind of stacks on top of other accessory makers out there that have also reported on things. Does this mean much of anything? Right now, I'm not so sure. I do think the Switch Mini is coming this year. I don't know about this mini Switch 2 thing. I don't know if that means anything. Feel free to speculate. I already threw my speculation out there. The only thing that makes sense to me, if you're calling it a mini Switch 2, is that this is the Switch 2, aka what the Switch Pro might be, or like a new generation Switch that's been miniaturized. But again, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't think a new gen Switch is coming in 2019. I don't think that makes any sense. So I don't know. I mean, I guess, are we supposed to pick and choose what we believe on the packaging? I don't know. But at least this looks real. This is like a real product. Like right here, this looks like a real product here. This does not look like a render to me. That's what's interesting, is that this could be a potential real product. So that's something to keep in mind. So I don't know. I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Do you think this is anything? Do you think it's nothing? And if, the Switch Mini exists, do you think it's going to come out this year? I personally am banking on September. I think it'll be announced either end of August, if not the very beginning of September, and then released within a couple weeks, right before all the big games in September land. There's like 3 really big games hitting in September. So I think it'll land before Zelda and before... what's the other one? Daemon X Machina, I think. I think it's going to land before all those games. But you guys let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Do you like this more bezel-less design? Do you like that potentially they're not going with a D-pad? I don't know. I know all the fan mock-ups have had D-pads, but I mean, this one doesn't. But then again, this render, like, I'm just looking at the buttons and all the placements on the top and even the shoulder. Like, this render basically looks like this. And let's just be honest. This supposed render looks exactly like this Switch, except all the buttons are flat because it's just a drawing. And then they just made the screen bigger and got rid of the bezels. Let's just be honest. That's what this looks like, but potentially that's what the Mini is, a shrunk down thing with the bezels with a massive screen. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, we have this little silicon thing here, and this is the closest thing we've seen that could represent anything. And the only reason to believe that, this isn't just a silicon thing for, the normal Switch, is because look at that screen size there. Like, that is a near bezel-less design that would not fit on the current Switch. So, I don't know. It's all interesting. Credit to, obviously, WinFuture, who found this stuff. I'll put a link to them in the bottom, as well as a link to this Nintendo Life article that I discovered this app by Liam Doolin. I think this is just really interesting. It's always neat to talk about. I want to know your guys' thoughts on it. Again, September to me is the target for Switch Mini, if it's coming at all, if it's even real, if it even exists. Remember, everything's rumors, speculation. I firmly believe where there's smoke, there's fire. Remember, the Switch Mini leaks have been coming from 3 major places. Switch Mini Leaks have come from Eurogamer, Switch Mini Leaks have come from Nikkei out of Japan, and Switch Mini Leaks have come from Wall Street Journal. They supposedly all have their own independent sources that are just not, it's not like it's one source feeding all three outlets. They're completely independent sources. There's also been sources that have been through the manufacturing line, sources that have been game developers, that kind of stuff, just to give you an idea where these sources are coming from. So, I don't know, man. It looks cool. I personally don't have a lot of interest in the Switch Mini unless it's using newer, faster tech. If it's using a shrunk-down Tegra X1 that happens to run at higher speeds than the original Switch, now you have my interest. Otherwise, I am perfectly happy with my Switch as is, with this awesome white skin on it. I think my Switch looks pretty sexy. But anyways, you guys, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. I am Nathaniel Rovajets from Nintendo Prime. Be sure to drop a like, share this video around with all of your friends. I hope you are enjoying your time here, and I will catch you in the next video. Oh, wait. Before I go, if you hit that little join button below the video for about, I don't know, let's say the next 2 weeks, if we can get to 20 total members on our channel, what I am calling the Nintendo Primers, if you want to join in the Nintendo Primers, if we get to 20 members, I will give away a copy of Fire Emblem Three Houses this month. We are at 7 members right now, so only 13 more of you need to hit that join button. It's $5 a month, supports the channel. It'll be a full public giveaway because we're not allowed to just do giveaways to people who hit the join button, because then it becomes a raffle, and raffles are pretty much illegal for any for-profit entity, and we are not a non-profit charity, so we wouldn't be able to run it that way. But yes, it'll be a full public giveaway if we get to 20 members. And hey, look, you're supporting the channel no matter what, and that's always a nice thing to do too, I guess. If you want to. You don't have to. No pressure. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if I don't... Oh, no. I'm not running the giveaway. Okay. No sweat off my back. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video.